everybody, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to talk about some books that I wish I had read in 2019. I've seen these sorts of videos going around on BookTube and I thought it would be fun to do one as well because you know, if there's one thing for certain is that there is never enough time in a year to read all the books that you want to read. I most definitely have a couple of books that I really wanted to read in 2019 but that I didn't, but that I wish I had. And yeah, that's the idea of this video, the books I'm going to talk about today. Obviously, I really hope that I can read all of these books in 2020, but it's not like really a TBR video this, it's just, you know, a moment for all the books that I wish I had read in 2019, but that I didn't. So let's just get started. The first one is it's like the winner of the award of books that I wish I had read in 2019, and it is The Huntress by Kate Quinn, which is a historical fiction novel, and it's about this woman pilot shortly after World War II, and I believe she's stranded somewhere. The Alice Network by Kate Quinn was one of my favorite books of 2018. I've talked about that one so many times. At the beginning of the year, The Huntress came out and I bought it immediately, but have I read it? Nope. This one has been in so many of my videos already, mostly TBR videos, and I keep talking about how I want to read it and I keep not doing it. I do know that now really, like, without joking, I'm really going to read it very soon, but unfortunately not in 2019. I wish I had, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Next up I have The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is about a young boy named, what is he called? David. His mother dies and shortly after that he starts hearing some of these mysterious voices coming out of his books. This is again a book that has been in so many of my TBR videos. I keep talking about it and I keep saying that I will be reading it before the end of the year, but unfortunately that's not happened. It's not going to happen. I really wish I had read it this year, but yeah, I don't know, it's just, I don't even know the reason. Life just got in the way and it has been on my TBR for such a long time. I really want to read it so badly, but somehow never it seems to be the right time. It does need to happen and it's going to happen eventually. I wish it was this year, but no, that did not happen. Then the next one that I have is probably like for a lot of people that I wish they read it this year, but it didn't happen, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is of course quite a recent release. It came out in November and you know, there hasn't been that much time to read it in 2019. But initially I really wanted to read it as soon as it came out, but then, you know, things got busier and I had other new releases that I wanted to read as well, and it's not a very small book, it's quite big, and it's a book that you really need to take the time for to absorb the atmosphere and the beautiful story and the magic and everything. It is the long-awaited new book by Erin Morgenstern, and so many people are so excited about it, myself included, and you know, I really wanted to read it as soon as I had it in my hands, but that did not happen, and it did not happen in 2019, and yeah, kind of sad about it, but I will read this very soon because I know I'm going to love it. Another hyped release of this year, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. The reason that I didn't read this one this year is because I'm so intimidated by its size. I feel like so many people are. This is definitely the biggest book on my entire bookshelf. It's so huge. It's like, it's a break. It's a big thing. But I do still really want to read it, and you know, when I got it, I believe it was around March, I was determined to read it at least before the end of the year, and I didn't, obviously. And I do believe that I'm going to love the story very, very much. But yeah, I do need to read it to find out, and that's just, it hasn't happened yet, and yeah, it didn't happen in 2019. My next one is also a fantasy book, and it's Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This is about a sort of band of mercenaries, and it's a fantasy book, but it's sort of presented as more of like a rock and roll vibe, I believe. I'm not completely sure because I haven't read it yet. It's a highly praised fantasy book. It sounds so interesting because it's fantasy, but it's also a bit different. It's supposed to have this amazing vibe to it. Like, now already the second book in this series has come out, and maybe also the third. I'm not completely sure how long this series is going to be. But you know, even talking about it makes me so excited to read it, but somehow I had forgotten about it during the year to actually pick it up. So again, a book that did not make it this year to be read. sad, but it is what it is. Then I have King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, the first book in her new Grisha-verse duology. So it's about some of the characters from Six of Crows and the Shadow and Bone series, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet, because I do love both of those series and I love Leigh Bardugo's writing so much. Like her other book that came out this year, Ninth House, I read straight away, but I haven't read King of Scars yet, maybe because I feel like the reviews have been a bit lukewarm. Like I haven't heard a lot of hate about this book, but I also haven't heard a lot of praise. It just sort of fell in between, I feel like. There weren't a lot of reviews from maybe I just missed them, I don't know, but you know, everybody loves Six of Crows, and this one just feels like it has been forgotten a bit, even by me. So I did wish that I read it this year, but it hasn't happened again. But I'm going to read it next year because I really have to. What I also wanted to read this year, but didn't, is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, the second book in the Illuminae Files series. It has been so long since I read Illuminae, like maybe 2 years by now? I'm not sure, a really long time. And I've had Gemina for such a long time as well. Like I bought it immediately after reading Illuminae, and it has been standing on my shelf ever since. I do have the audiobook of this, so I want to read the audio, or like listen to the audiobook and then also read through the book to see some of the files and the pictures. And yeah, it didn't happen this year, and it needs to happen next year because I do love Illuminae very much, and I think Gemina is going to be great as well. And then lastly on my list is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I mean, it's a historical fiction novel about the Tudor era in England. I mean, that's enough said for me, right? It sounds like the perfect book for me. This book is mostly about Thomas Cromwell, who was, oh my god, what is it called? Lord Chancellor of England at some point. And it's about King Henry VIII and some of his wives, and I don't know exactly the time span this book is about. Maybe just Thomas Cromwell's life, I'm not completely sure. But I do love historical fiction so much, and I feel like I haven't read enough historical fiction this year. And especially Tudor historical fiction. Like I have a definite lack of Tudor historical fiction in my life. I wanted to read it so badly, and again, I just didn't really find the time for it somehow. Like it's also a big one, but it does have this beautiful golden cover, which I love so much. So another book that hopefully will be read in 2020. Who knows, but yeah, I do want to read it very badly. And then that was it for some of the books that I wish I had read in 2019. Of course, you know, there are probably many more books because I have so many books on my TBR and never enough time. You know, there's never going to be enough time to read all the books that you want. But these were some that I especially regretted not reading this year. But, you know, there are new chances in 2020 and I cannot wait for it. But this was it then for this video, and I really hope you liked this video, and if you did, maybe go subscribe or give it a thumbs up. As always, I would really appreciate that. And hopefully I will see you again very soon in my next video. Bye!